Joe extended an olive branch today. I wasn't expecting it. He did it after he wrote to me, "I'm not reading your emails either because you keep lying about me." No. How I feel is not lying about you, Joe. People can have feelings about somebody or something and they might not be justified, you know? That's why, as a friend, you've got to work through things. You can't just negate somebody's feelings. If you care about that person, you cannot negate their feelings. You have to, you know, I wrote to him, like, I said something, I don't know, I feel like I can't say anything negative to you about you without you negating my feelings or attributing how I feel to my mental illness, something blah blah blah, but I don't know what I said. In the end I said, that doesn't mean I don't love you. I wasn't saying that so he'll come and help me. No, I had resigned myself that my mother and I are going to be screwed. If we know one person and then I reject that person and you know what I mean? There's nothing to do with anything. I'd be devastated and heartbroken were Joe out of my life when he's not even in my everyday life, see? Like back when my mom and I lived in Massachusetts and it was just a phone, with a phone friend, I'd be devastated. The problem is I feel like a lot of the times I don't feel like he would be the same. I don't know. I don't like this house. Then again, I'm already having bad memories are forming, right? And they're only going to get worse. Yesterday, my mom got herself into the wheelchair without my knowledge, even though I'm sleeping right beside her. And then I woke up in time to take her to the bathroom, and then she insisted on staying up all night, and she ended up falling, but being okay, and I had to call to have her lifted, right? And then today, she woke me up to have her go take her to pee, and then wouldn't go back to bed. And she was up to pee at 3, and then she was in the living room she was up from 3 until 8. She didn't fall. So to her, like, see, I didn't fall. Mom, you fell a few times on your behind in Massachusetts because you were careless, not paying attention, this, that, whatever, not from a seizure, not from fainting, not from dizziness, no. From carelessness, from nonchalance, from arrogance, from defiance of me, etc., etc. Okay. And you were fine, and you'd say, nothing's going to happen to me, God won't let me fall, and then you fell and broke your hip, and you fell and broke your hip, and then you're in the hospital, and as happens to a lot of people, you're in the hospital, and then you catch something else, and then you're there for a long time, and then they were going to discharge you to a nursing facility. Downward spiral. So when she says, how come so-and-so's walking again and they broke their hip? How come God healed them and not me? Mom, you broke your hip and then had severe complications afterwards, repeated complications. But you are a fighter, and you have to go to bed at night and stay and get up to pee and then not stay up all night in that living room, especially in that living room, because it's not like you're going to sit on a couch and it's not like there's a rug, it's a hard floor, and you just in there banging your stuff around, whatever. It's like an empty thing. Just go back to bed. She wouldn't do it. She was up all night. I stayed up for a little while and then I crashed exhausted. But you think I'm really sleeping? No. I'm waiting to hear the thing or to wake up to horror. Have I woken up to horror? No. I woke up to her on the floor, but she was okay. Not horror. I have to call paramedic. They come pick her up, and that's that. And it goes on, and it could be, you know, they're not going to take her against her will. Sad thing is, when we were going to bed, I said, you know, they're not uploading the stuff like they used to for your church thing, but you can watch it live. And she said, can I watch it tomorrow live? I said, depends on how you behave. If you get up to pee and then go right back to bed. And what did she do? No, she was up all fucking night, 3 to 8. And then she miraculously wanted to go back to bed from 8 until 10. Okay. But at 9 o'clock she was singing at the top of her lungs and I was so exhausted. I fell right back to sleep. I'm not getting real sleep. And we get up at 10, she's not getting her meds. By the time we get up and get out of bed and get her to the bathroom and I do breakfast, I mean, she's eating breakfast and having her meds like 11, and by the time she's done, it's 11:30. So where does the day go? She'll be like, where's the day go? Mom, we didn't start the day till late because you stayed up all night doing stuff with your crap that you could do during the day. Sundowning. She turns into something real bad at night and she won't go back to bed. She didn't do that in the hotel. She's doing it here. And Joe tried to get the TV, the second TV. He'd extended an olive branch. He came over to bring our stuff. Because remember, our legal address is still his address. And even though I technically can have stuff delivered from FedEx or UPS or whatever, I'm just still having everything delivered to his house. Okay? He came over unannounced. He has to learn to have patience because I was in the middle of feeding my mom. And of course, he wants to talk to me and wants to this and wants to that. I'm like, I'm in the middle of doing this with my mom. You have to wait. You have to wait, Joe, okay? He came and brought the stuff and then he's like, do you want me to set up your TV in the bedroom? I'm like, I'd love you to do that. Because think about it. That might get her back into bed. You know, if I can turn the TV on low. That might tempt her back into bed. But when she goes into that living room, you think she's going to have TV, radio, or phone. She's demanding, I want my phone. You're not having your phone at 3 in the morning in any universe. You're not having the TV. You're not having your CDs. You're not going to make noise. It's 3 in the fucking morning. You're going to be in that empty living room. And I'm going to be here staying awake mostly or fitfully sleeping and praying that nothing bad happens to you. Because your luck is going to run out. The writing's on the wall. Joe tried to set up the TV and he would have been able to. Well, first of all, the stand of my the TV from 15 years ago, and I love that TV and it still works good. It's a Samsung. And I don't know what those movers did. The screws were missing and Joe's like, well, maybe they were always missing. I'm like, I don't know. It wasn't movers who set it up 15 years ago. It was a friend of my mother's, and the TV back then, they don't cost that now, but it was 42-inch Samsung plasma, and it cost like $1,000. And then the stand is nice, Joe's like, well, there's screws missing, but he went to Lowe's and he was going to try to find the screws by measurements, but he didn't want to talk to anybody. And I'm like, why don't you just ask somebody? You can't find anybody, but he happened to find someone, and they recommended getting a kit. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have got the screws. But the Comcast Get Starting kit is supposed to have an HDMI cable. In fact, it should have had one for the other TV box as well. We got 2 boxes to have 2 HDMI cables, but They don't cost that much. They only cost like $10 at Walmart. That's not the point. The point is it should have had it, and he wasn't able to set up the TV, but he did try. But he also brought me. I didn't know he could do a handheld shower. I thought I'd have to have a plumber do that. He brought me his old handheld shower that he had where he used to live, because where he used to live, he had bad water, and here he has good water, so he doesn't use it, and it's a filter, and he put it in. I'm thinking, I wish he could have put it in before I bathed my mom yesterday, but I didn't even know Joe and I were going to make up. And again, we make up, but we're both hurt by each other. And we're both like, you know, we're both leery, but he doesn't want to leave us high and dry, and that's admirable. Okay? If he were a jerk, he would leave us high and dry. But I said to him, you're supposed to be a Christian. Right now, you can't leave us high and dry. At least you got to bring our mail, and you got to bring, I had railings sent to your house instead of a raised toilet, because I thought it'd just be easier to try to get the railings installed than a raised toilet seat, because you can have problems with them, and the high rate, they didn't have the one I wanted, and then I didn't want to. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The fact is, he came over, and I'm sure he read the email where I said that I loved him, and I was telling the truth. I do love him, even if I feel like we can't be friends, because it has to be a two-way street. You can't just say whatever you feel like about me and attribute any if I get upset with you about anything, attribute that to my mental illness. That's going to trigger me. It's reminiscent of what Donald did. Okay? And his mother did. You know about my mom, and you know about whatever, and then you're going to use that against me. Of course, if my Joe does it, and you're two peas in a pod or whatever, because he's upset with me, it's going to trigger me big time, And he's upset with me for being upset. How I feel was justifiably, so it's just whatever. It's whatever. The fact is, we need him, and I love him, Of course I love him. I love him as a human being, and I'd already said to him, I believe I know you love me as a human being, and I know you feel sorry for me, but I don't feel like you like me. And if you're constantly calling me mentally ill, and you get pissed off if I express feelings of negativity at all towards you, like, I don't know. Anyway, he brought his old handheld shower, and I hugged him, because oh my God, I really wanted that, not just for my mom, for me too. And it has the filter too, which is awesome. So I was never gonna ask for his. I wasn't even thinking about what happened to his, but I do know that he didn't have it in his new place. He doesn't need it. Okay, let's just say he has good fucking water that he doesn't mind. He still has his spring water he has delivered in the dispenser, whatever, but he can drink his water. Okay. And he doesn't filter his water, but so he brought me that, and he put it on, and I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. And we talked about how I bathed my mom. He talked about how his neighbors actually gave him, and he tried it in his own shower, and he's like, Laura, you wouldn't believe how strong it is. I don't understand the concept, Joe, and it scares me. And I read an article warning about it. I don't understand how it works. I'd have to be shown proof. I don't understand how a suction grab bar works. It just doesn't make sense to me that it can stay up and be strong. It just doesn't. It doesn't compute in my brain. But I believe Joe. I'd have to see it for myself. The fact is, I still know she would have been safer in his shower. And it did say, I'm never going to forgive you for this. Of course I'm going to forgive him. But I wasn't going to ask him for anything. See, I wasn't going to reach out to him and grovel and beg. he had to make the first move, and he did. Would you like me to set up the second TV? That would be wonderful, Joe. That would be wonderful. And even though he wasn't able to do it, he did try, and we did get it into my mom's bedroom. We set up the thing, and then we found out the movers, and he's like, the movers should have kept the screws right there, and then that's what somebody normally would do. Like, I don't, because it was just 4 screws. I don't know, Joe. I don't know where they are. I don't understand what happened to them. Maybe they were never there, but I highly doubt that. And we just don't know. In my experience, you put them in a little bag and tape them, but we didn't find them. And it's possible they were never there, or it's possible those horrible movers lost them. It's possible they were left behind somehow, or who the fuck knows. The fact is, he was able to get that set up, and then we don't have an HDMI cable that's supposed to come in the Get Started kit. I told you there wasn't one in the other one, or I had to buy one. I said, I don't know what you had to do. I knew you had to buy a splitter, but then when the Comcast guy came to do my thing, and he was able to do it for a measly $100, which is fantastic, he changed over the one in the living room, and he said, I gave you a better splitter. And Joe was like, yeah, he knows that you should have a 2-way instead of a 4-way, but that's all that Walmart had when he went to get it, so. But I don't know what he's doing. I told you we didn't have an HDMI cable. Joe, you told me a lot of things. You told me, I don't know. You told me that you couldn't do this and couldn't do that. I don't know the difference between all this stuff. And what else he did? When he came to bring our stuff, when it was still raw with me, and I hadn't bathed my mom yet, and he's like, do you want me to go? That was an olive branch, but it wasn't enough for me, because it involved the thing that I'm pissed about, having to bathe my mom here and being terrified. And I wanted her to have dignity, even if something tragic happens to her, but if she's tragic and she's still breathing, I wanted her to have the dignity of being clean. But she couldn't stand. She had to sit the entire time. There's nothing to hold on to. Joe's like, couldn't she hold on to that ledge there where you put the chair? No, Joe, that's slippery. That you can't hold on to that. That would be worse than. She had to trust and hold on to me. Trust and hold on to me to get in, out. And I did not do her backside. I did it standing up by the sink and washed her outside and just had towels down. And basically, that's what we did. We washed her as much as we could in the bath. I washed her as much as I could, soberly sitting down the entire time. She had to rely on me instead of a grab bar to get in and out. She had to trust me. And it worked out okay, but it was terrifying. And it's still going to be raw. And Joe should have just let me do it at his house. He was trying to say today when we made up or whatnot. But just because we made up, I still fear asking him for anything. If he offers, it's one thing. And then the other day, somebody, I keep, even though we have the air on it, I know it's costing money. It's the whole thing. I was in a hotel for total almost 3 months, and I was all closed in all the time. So I like having the front door open, and there's no screen there, but there's a screen door, but it has not the screen. And just to feel open, I don't know. I know you're not supposed to do that because you're wasting, you're paying a lot of money for air, and then we don't have the air on high anyway, on cold anyway, but I just like it. But I was making important phone calls way back in my room. My mom was on the other side of the house, and she put herself in danger because someone came and knocked at the door, and people don't do that. People don't do that this day and age. Even in nicer areas, strangers don't come knocking at your door. And then Joe comes, and he's like, was that paint on your driveway? Was that this? I'm like, I don't know, Joe, because he's concerned. I was like, well, you said this is a nice area. Well, it can be definitely a nice area and whatever, Laura, but if somebody doesn't like the person who lived here before, who was a guy, then maybe they don't know that that guy is gone, and they might be coming around. You just don't know. You just don't know. What we do know is my mother will let someone in to slaughter you. She says, come in. Thank God I had the damn screen door locked. I'm smart enough to do that. And then, but she could have been hurt too, because she's trying to get there to open the door, and she wasn't able to do it, thank God. And then Joe's saying, was that there like that? Joe, if someone's going to come do something, I really don't think splotches of paint here and there is what they were going to do. They'd do something worse, wouldn't they? I mean, but Joe has a very attention to detail and a keen eye. And he's like, I really don't remember that being there. It's a mystery, Joe. We're never going to know. We know somebody came here for sure. And we know it freaked my mom out. And she was all upset because we thought it was Joe and it wasn't. So who the fuck was it? We're never going to know. Yeah. I don't know. And Joe also snaked the drain only because he had to go to Lowe's to get those screws to try to set up the TV. Brought a thing for the drain. And then he called me in and showed me, and it was repulsive. He's like, see, this is gross. Then he's like, you owe me $100. He's like, Palmer would charge $100 for that. I'm like, I owe you way more than that, Joe. That's why I bought you that trailer. Okay? I owe you everything. You've sacrificed. You've put on hold getting your own part-time job. You've sacrificed everything for me and my mom. Not just trying to find houses. It's not just about when we were in the hotel and having to get us food and having to take my mom to get meds and we have to take her anywhere we have to go and look at houses and do this and do that, but also all the research involved in looking for houses online. Joe sacrificed himself up and down, backwards and forwards. Just anything you could think of, okay? And he got us groceries and he got him to a hotel and he picked up her wheelchair and he brought back the one we were renting. We got the one through Medicare and our secondary insurance. And, you know, he did just constant. And the only way I can repay him is financially. And I had to go to his house and sign documents that I need you to look them over and I'm not going to go and do that with him. And then I wound up, we had to look at stuff and houses and then we came close to getting one and then didn't, but this all took lots and lots of time, especially with my mom, and it just was awful. It's awful. Yeah, he gave me the handheld shower, which is a great thing. He put it in, like, I didn't know you. I would have bought one. He's like, well, we only could do so much. I know. Mom doesn't understand that. She wants everything all at once. And she hates me, and she wants to know what things cost, and she wants this, and she wants that. And I did think about getting you that ellipse, Mom, but I want to research it. And again, I've only been here a couple of weeks. It's not my top priority. And you're not having a curling iron, and you're insane if you think you're going to buy a car for $1,000. You're not going to buy a car, period. You're not going to drive. I mean, so everything she badmouths me and like, you won't do anything for me. No, the things you want, you're not having. They're insane. They're not rational. Not the ellipse, but I have to think about that. Even, she can't even be trusted. Oh, and she wants a tablet. Mom, you're constantly dropping your consumer cellular, your $50 phone on this hard floor. You're not having a fucking tablet. It costs a few $100s and it'll smash. I mean, you're not, why can't I have a tablet? You give me nothing. I'm going to sue you. I want all my money. She constantly drops her cheap phone, flip phone. You think I'm going to buy her a fucking tablet in a million years? Are you kidding me? She can bitch and moan and scream all she wants. She doesn't want to accept reality. That's why she's obsessing over her looks. Why do I have all these wrinkles? Why do I have these spots? Because you're nearly 80 years old, Mom. No, I'm not. I'm in 50 and you're whatever. And yeah, you're 50. What am I, Mom? You're 20. See, she's insane. And she thinks she's putting lotion on her arms and that's going to get rid. It's not. There's a reason why nursing facilities, as far as I know, they don't have mirrors. okay? You know, in mirrors, because of people like my mom, they don't want to accept reality. And they get very, very upset at their reflection in the mirror, you know? So, what's this and why is that that? And I don't want that. Like, so Joe extended an olive branch. He tried to set up the TV, but he did do other things. He snaked that drain. He gave me his old handheld shower that actually has a water filter, which is great. But I didn't know he could do that. I thought I'd have to have a plumber do that. And I could have bought a handheld thing, you know. I still need the plumber for other things. There's problems with this house having to do with S traps or P traps or this, that, or whatever. Remember, I got thousands of dollars off to do repairs that I'm going to do. And my mom wants to throw her weight around and wants to know how much I paid for the house and this, that, or whatever. Because she wants to know how much is left over and this, that, or whatever. You don't need to know. I need that money to take care of you, to point being, I'm not like, you know, expending it. I'm not doing what she would want to do. I want to do this, and I want to fly Selena here for to visit me, and I want to go on a cruise, and I want this, and I want that. She told me again that she would go back to bed and not kill herself, because that's what she's doing. She's putting herself in danger. She's jeopardizing my health when she gets up to pee in the middle of the night and won't go back to bed. And it's not like she won't go back to bed and she has insomnia and she tries to go back to bed. And it's not like she went to bed at 8 and wants to be up for 3 at the day. No, she's going to bed at midnight or 11:30 and wanting to be up for the day at 3. See, just on a few hours sleep. That's the difference. That's the key. But even in Massachusetts, and let's just say here is different, far, far different, but even there, you know, didn't she call the cops on me one night, and the cop came, and because they have to respond, and he's just like, if she wants to stay up, she can. She wants to stay up 24 hours in a row, and she can do it, yeah. And she's putting herself in danger, and lo and behold, how much longer after that did she fall and break her hip? Because she stayed up all night. She's like a young girl and was on 2.5 hours sleep all day long, huh? You fucking asshole. You motherfucker. She's in grave danger when she pulls that shit. So far, she's been lucky, but just like in Massachusetts, at any given moment, her luck can run out. And if you think that just because you're a Christian or God won't let anything happen to me, things have repeatedly happened to you. Okay, you know, God doesn't. You're supposed to protect yourself. You can't do all that and just think nothing bad's gonna happen to you. That's insane. Yeah. Case in point. Case in point. Case in point. Yeah. Insane. Delusional. It's just getting worse.